So welcome to all of you. We are all there, apart from Beth, she is in New Mexico. So tonight is the last meeting. I hope that you are all well. And tonight we will treat the last two topics. Topic of Phowa and the topic of mantra. And I will mix it with some addition from last meetings. Maybe some clarification. We do some meditation. So before we start with meditation, I have to, or like to add some a new or another view on refuge. And up till now, we have spoken of the inner Buddha, the Dharma as our behavior, and the Sangha as our inner enlightened qualities, where the Buddha nature is the origin, the primordial pure state of the mind with its potentials. And the Sangha, is the activation or the arising or the manifesting of the Buddha qualities. It is the activation of the Buddha qualities, the practice of Buddha qualities, the arising of Buddha qualities in samsara. And of course, the Buddha nature and these qualities of the Buddha nature that are all inside of each of us, each being. So that's why, in general, the taking refuge is taking refuge into oneself, not into the I or the ego, as we have mentioned last week, but in the pure nature of our existence, our mind, and of its perfect qualities. And that is because, as I mentioned in the first meeting, that Buddha said, you can listen to my teachings, you can try to understand them, you can try to practice them in your life, but don't depend on me, because there's only one refuge, and that is the inner refuge in the inner Buddha nature and its enlightened qualities. So be a refuge unto yourselves, and don't depend on text or books or teachers outside of us. And of course, teachers and lamas and spiritual friends, they are a great help. And we need them. We can't practice Dharma without them. We can't discover the Buddha nature without our teachers. And we can't practice without the teacher, the lamas, and without our spiritual friends. Spiritual friends sometimes also called a Sangha. It is more the Western way of considering the Sangha, our spiritual friends, mostly in our Buddhist centers or in our daily life. So there are two meanings of Sangha. The bodhisattvas inside of us, the enlightened qualities coming into being, and the spiritual friends that help, that we share together our path. So this is the most important, to consider refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Dharma is our behavior, according to the Dharma. to consider Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha as inner refuge. But of course, and this is my addition, there is also often spoken of taking refuge in the outer Buddhas and the outer bodhisattvas. And of course, this is also true, because we have in Buddhism, it is in the Mahayana Buddhism, it is said that every being, every sentient being, has a Buddha nature. And sentient means a being that has a consciousness and a mind. This is the meaning of sentient. So as soon as there is a consciousness, a mind in that being, then there's also a Buddha nature. So what does it mean that we take refuge in the outer Buddhas? There are countless beings in this universe, and I don't know how many, but billions and billions. So in that sense, it is said that there are countless Buddhas in this universe. And of course, we do not know what the qualities are of these countless beings in our universe. We cannot know that. So it is very likely that there are limitless Buddhas with limitless qualities of enlightened beings. In other words, there might be numerous Buddhas in an enlightened state and with their perfect qualities are realized in this world that we know of. And also it said on each atom in this universe there are Buddhas and bodhisattvas. So that is why we can take refuge in the outer Buddhas and bodhisattvas, because they might be walking around with us in the street or on our jobs or in a sporting club or on a holiday in another country or in countries that we are not physically. Each being can be a realized Buddha and or a bodhisattva on one of the 8 on the 10 levels. We don't know that because maybe we are ignorant or we don't see it, we don't recognize it, we are blind, or we are misled by their ordinary body and their ordinary behavior, while it might very well be possible that they practice or show an ordinary body and an ordinary behavior, not in order to create panic, when we meet them, because we are used to ordinary beings and to ordinary behavior. So we are more or less ignorant or not seeing, not understanding, not recognizing, because we, or at least I, am not on the level of recognizing a liberated person, an enlightened being. So we never know. And regarding the question of last week, how to deal with anger, or I find it difficult to practice compassion. If we consider every being in a relative state as we know him or her, of course, then we can practice kindness, loving kindness, and compassion. And for our own happiness and our own karma, we have to diminish our negative emotions like anger and many others. That's good for our karma. That is according to the vows we have taken in the refuge, which is our behavior. And then we create happiness for ourselves and for others. We've been talking about that. But there is another reason why it's not very wise to let our negative emotions arise and follow them in words or in thinking or even in bodily actions. So, for instance, anger towards a person, one remedy could be that I consider this other person as having a Buddha nature inside. So being angry at a person that has a Buddha nature inside is not a very wise thing to do. Not because this person will punish us. The Buddha quality of this person will understand my behavior and my ignorance and my disturbing emotions. But considering another being as a Buddha might be of tremendous help for us to take refuge in our inner Buddha nature, but also to transform, in this case, anger into wisdom or kindness or calm abiding. In other words, not following my destructive emotions and not projecting them on someone else. So this invisible Buddha nature in the other person, maybe my enemy, can be of tremendous help of changing our behavior, taking refuge in the Dharma and taking refuge in the Buddha. So this is taking refuge in the outer Buddhas. We don't know where they are. We don't know how many there are. And we practiced the meditations last week where we made a protective circle of Buddhas around us with all beings inside. So that is, as that was meant to be a manifestation of all the Buddhas in this universe that are protecting us and that are protecting all other beings who are not aware of their Buddha nature and their Buddha qualities and are drowning in suffering and negative emotions. Just for that, we can visualize as a protective circle as wide as the universe, because there are limitless enlightened beings around us to protect us. And of course, it is our behavior. As I said before, these Buddhas, they cannot liberate us from suffering. We have to do this ourselves or individually. Buddhas cannot liberate us. Jesus cannot liberate us. God cannot liberate us. We have to do it ourselves. But there are many spiritual friends, our Sangha in our daily life or in our Buddhist center. And there are also limitless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas present. So taking refuge means to ask for help. And taking refuge is out of fear, as we had discussed in the first meeting. We take refuge out of fear, to not being able to rescue myself with my shortcomings and my ignorance and so on. So out of fear, I take refuge in enlightened beings. And it is said, as soon as we invoke them by taking refuge, or as soon as we ask for help, the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas immediately will be there. And this is the beauty of this idea of limitless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas around us, is that we are never alone in our worries and sorrows and so on. Because all the time there are numberless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas surrounding us. And not just around surrounding us, but they they have the limitless quality of compassion. So they are loving us, they are supporting us. We can cry on their shoulders, so to speak. And they are guiding us. And that's the only wish. That's the only thing they do, to guide us, to love us, and to support us in all our emotions and shortcomings and pain and fears. This is the wonderful idea of limitless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas with limitless qualities among limitless beings, and able to be there for us and all other beings. And that's wonderful. So that's why we can take refuge when we are afraid in many ways. And we have also spoken about we take refuge out of faith. And last week we spoke about that we can develop faith in many ways, to try, to investigate, to meditate, to practice our good qualities, and to diminish our negative deeds of body, speech, and mind. And then slowly, when we are that it proves to be helpful to change anger into patience, for instance, then we develop faith because we experience that it works. But there is also, and that's the second edition, there's also a kind of faith that one teacher, this last weekend I had teachings from Geshe Sonam in the Netherlands, and he explained the blind faith. And the blind faith means that there is a certain feeling or a certain trust or a certain insight or a certain feeling inside that there is something to be trusted. There is something to be trusted. Maybe somewhere in myself, maybe in others, or in limitless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas around us. But I can't prove it. I can't find it. I can't see it or hear it, those beings or whatever. But somewhere inside, there is a kind of feeling of trust that it is good, that it is okay, that it will be helpful, that I can connect with it, that I can rely on it, maybe step by step. But so this blind trust is not something we can really argue about it or find proof of it. Sometimes people around us, first they have to prove that I can rely on them. They have to prove that I can rely on them. That is our normal way of trying to trust someone. And if this person fails, then I'm frustrated. I can't trust this person. I can't trust anyone. But it happens more often. But this is not a very reliable way of building trust, because this other being is also in the imperfect state of samsara. It's his or her shortcomings. So trying to build trust in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, this was explained in the last two meetings, by study and meditating and visualizing and change our behavior for the best way to possible. Then we experience in our mind that the Buddha and the Buddha qualities inside of us can be trusted, because there's certain proof when I change my negative behavior into positive behavior, then I can experience the idea that there is this Buddha nature and this quality is to be trusted. that there is something true in it. So this is the faith that is built up by behavior and analyzing and trying and developing ourselves. But there is also this blind faith that says, yes, I think this person inside of me, there is something inside of me that I can trust. There is something in this teacher that I can trust. There is something in my deep inside of me that I can trust. There's some beings outside that I can trust. So this is more an intuitive trust. And this is also very good. We go on holiday because we have a certain trust that this holiday, this country could be very nice. And then we investigate, and we organize and we pay and we travel to this country. But before that, there's a certain feeling, oh yes, this might be a very wonderful country to travel to. This is also a kind of blind faith. And then, of course, this is related with the faith we develop ourselves, as mentioned. Something inside, something outside is worth trusting it, apart from exact knowledge. So, okay. So wonderful, huh? So there's always protection inside of us and outside of us. So, and then very briefly, last week we spoke about the offerings. When we take refuge in the morning, and I mentioned something that it has to be, when it is fresh food, then we have to eat it. Of course, it doesn't have to be the same day. We can give it to others. But some fresh food can also last for the next day as an offering, as long as my motivation is there. But the sweets and the chocolate, we should not eat every day because that's not very healthy. So we can also use the sweets and the chocolates and so on for several days. But the motivation is the same. I offer this chocolate every day. I'm not going to eat it because my doctor will be very angry at me. But of course, when we offer it the next day, then the intent and the motivation of the offering is the same. So I'm telling you it because I was worried maybe you develop bad habits by taking refuge every morning. Take refuge in chocolate. Yeah. So, and then I don't know if you are familiar with it, but very briefly, when we take refuge in the morning before our shrine, then we make 3 prostrations, where we take refuge in the Buddha, so it's on the top of the head, on the front of the forehead, the Buddha, the Dharma, the speech, and the heart. And then we prostrate to the floor, maybe put our hands and the fingers and the hands spread on the floor. And this is entering samsara, and spreading the hands means all beings in samsara. I and all beings take refuge in the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha. Put my hands on the floor and then stand up. And that standing up means, may I and all living beings be liberated from samsara. Right? And this we do 3 times. 1 time for Buddha, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. And the next is also for the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, but then the Dharma. And the 3rd time is Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, with 3 prostrations. And as mentioned briefly, we can also make a combination with a mantra for instance, Om Mani Padme Hum or Bodhisattva. We will come to that. This is also very good. So it is entering samsara and symbolically rising up from samsara with all beings. May they all be liberated from samsara. Yeah. This is a very common practice in Buddhism. So, okay. And of course, three prostration is usual, but we also can, of course, do as many as we like. It's also very good for fitness to do many prostrations, even the long prostrations. And his brother. Yes, Kimbo lecture. Thank you. So, okay, shall we start with a short meditation? So please sit comfortable so that you can sit for a few minutes. If possible, do not move your body while in meditation. It helps. And consider yourself not just sitting in the Buddha posture. If you are not, then imagine that you are sitting in a Buddha posture. And one step further is that you are a Buddha. So please visualize yourselves as sitting in a Buddha position. And then slowly transform yourself into being the body of Buddha Sakyamuni. So you change your common identity and common body into a reflection or an emanation of a Buddha posture and a Buddha being. Your Buddha nature is all around, is present in every detail of your body. Also means that you're not a solid body, but like a body like luminous light radiating. So now you leave your ordinary existence. And what arises is your inner Buddha of luminous light, transparent, which is the expression of emptiness. And the light of this body has many colors, like a diamond. And this symbolizes all the qualities of the Buddha nature. So emptiness means there's no enemy and no loved ones, but there is love and kindness for all beings that arise in my mind or that I meet in the daily life. So these are the diamond-like radiations, diamond-like qualities, radiating all directions. And this light, of course, is not silent, is not standing still, but this light is vibrating because it is of tremendous power and an inexhaustible energy. And it is inexhaustible energy because it is not hindered by ignorance or disturbing emotions. They have all dissolved. So try to abide in this inner being manifesting now. So this is an expression of the Buddha nature. And your face is also the face of the Buddha. Means smiling from wisdom by wisdom and smiling of kindness. And the face is light and radiating, but so beautiful and alive. It looks at ourselves, it looks at others with very kind and loving eyes. Face is beautiful, perfect. And the eyes are half open and half closed. It means being aware of the suffering of all beings nearby and at the other end of the universe around us. But not getting involved, not getting lost in this manifold suffering, being aware of it, but abiding in the Buddha nature and manifesting qualities of compassion and love and kindness and power. This is the gazing look of the Buddha, being aware but not being lost and abide in the pure nature, which is the limitlessness. So this is the inner refuge, radiating to all beings, which is the Dharma. All beings be happy and free from suffering. And be aware of the qualities of kindness and love and harmony, indisturbability, equanimity, compassion. There's so many suffering in the world. So this is the Sangha, the manifestation of qualities. So let it radiate into the world around you, your loved ones, your enemies. This is the bodhicitta. So everyone that comes up is surrounded by support. In whatever you do in body, speech, and actions of body, speech, and mind. Please do not consider this as a mere visualization, something I try to do my best to visualize. I try to consider, to be aware of that this is who you are. This is your ultimate identity, your powers and qualities. Qualities of non-violence, morality, of benevolence, patience, loving kindness, and so on. This is our refuge in the Dharma and the Sangha and the Buddha. Okay, thank you. So if you are, agree, then we can continue with Phowa. Is that okay? And So to be very brief of what Phowa is, this last meditation that we did together is actually the best Phowa that we can practice. The best Phowa practice is something like the meditation we did, this last meditation, or in many other varieties. And many philosophies and theories about Phowa. So as you know, Phowa means transference of consciousness into a pure land. And that's what we did in this last meditation. We transferred our consciousness and our mind into a pure land. So on the moment of death, if you remember this, in all the worries and turmoil of falling apart bodily, have to leave the world, my friends, my possessions, and so on, this ordinary life, this ordinary consciousness, this ordinary identity. If we are able to practice, like, for instance, this last meditation, then this is the best Phowa, to transfer our ordinary consciousness into a pure land. There's not much, doesn't make sense to transfer our consciousness into the next life. We don't have to do anything for that. This goes by itself if you are not trained. But Phowa is meaning transferring the consciousness on the moment of death into the pure land. So that means that we are aware of, that we are able, that we recognize, that we are trained to abide in the pure land of which is the Buddha, our Buddha nature and our Buddha qualities. So transference of consciousness is something that we can only do ourselves. Nobody else can do this for us, or I cannot do it for someone else. It's because it is obvious that we cannot manipulate the consciousness and the mind of others to leave a body and to enter a pure land. Of course, there are realized beings like His Holiness Sakya 41. Maybe there are other realized lamas who have the power and the ability to practice transference for someone else. I've recently heard that with someone that died in terrible circumstances, someone of the Sangha. And then our Lama he requested His Holiness Sakya to practice Phowa in order to help the confused mind of this person in these terrible circumstances of dying to transfer to a pure land. So I don't know, but they say that realized beings can do that. So what we actually should do is, so the actual practice of the traditional practice of Phowa is to try to get used to bring the consciousness from the heart to, not from the heart, from the secret chakra into the top chakra, the crown of the head. And then at the moment of death, we eject the consciousness into the pure land. So by using a certain word, we bring the consciousness to the heart chakra, where there is a lotus. And in that lotus, there is a drop called the tiklei. And this drop is to become the essence of the consciousness. And then with the same word, the consciousness is transported to the crown chakra. And there it remains. And then we, with another word, we bring the consciousness back to the lotus in the heart, the tiklei, which is a drop. The drop is the essence of the enlightened mind. And then from the heart chakra, on the lotus, we can bring it back to the secret chakra. This is the practice of training, the traditional training of transporting the conscious to the top of the head. And we should not go beyond that, because if we visualize that or try to eject the consciousness out of the top chakra, the opening on the top of the head, and the consciousness should indeed leave the body, then we have a great risk of dying on the spot. So that is the danger of practicing Phowa in a traditional way. Imagining, visualizing this from the secret chakra to the heart chakra with the lotus and the tiklei, the drop, which of course you know there is a central channel, a nadi, from the secret chakra up to the top chakra, the crown chakra, which is not really existing, but it is a spiritual channel, a pure channel, white on the outside and red on the inside. And through this spiritual channel, we eject the consciousness from the secret chakra to the top chakra. And this is how we can train. It's very traditional training. But the danger is that we could die on the spot as soon as we are out of control, and the conscious would leave the body. So this is not advised to do, not this practice, and certainly not ejecting the consciousness from the body. So I'm just telling you this, that you know what the traditional practice of Phowa is. Because it is very dangerous, and I don't want you to die after my words. Of course, maybe it will not be happening. But anyway, as we practice very intensely this Phowa technique, then there is a serious danger of getting out of control and to die. And it is, in essence, not the most important technique for Phowa, because we don't know what the pure realm, Buddha realm is. We don't know what the pure land of Buddha Amitabha is, for instance, right? or other Buddha realms, from Avalokiteshvara or of Tara or many other deities who abide and arise in the pure realms. So as soon as we don't know them, then it is not possible for us to practice Phowa on the moment of death, and certainly someone else cannot do it, provided maybe a very realized teacher or being. So more important, more essential is, as said before, that we in our life and daily life, we take refuge in a peaceful mind, that we liberate ourselves from all kinds of negative emotions and feelings and thoughts, all kinds of negative words and all kinds of negative actions of the body. Because when we practice virtue, when we practice kindness, when we practice loving kindness, when we practice compassion towards ourselves and others, when we develop the power of the mind, pure mind, when we enhance our insight and wisdom, then what will happen is that we will realize and that we will enter the Pure Land into ourselves somewhere. We've been talking about that. Huh? Everybody and every being has a Buddha nature, which is a Pure Land. And the bodhisattvas and the enlightened qualities are radiations or emanations from the Pure Land. So because they are pure qualities. So in other words, if we try in our lives to practice the qualities of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas with all the problems and limitations, but as we practice as many times as possible from the negative to the positive, then slowly we will practice a Phowa into our Buddha nature. One might say that to destroy every hindrance or to destroy every negative damaging emotion or thinking, if we are able to destroy and to replace it by loving kindness or compassion or understanding, we've been talking about that in many ways. And of course, you know from your lamas and your study, that is actually the Phowa practice in our life. And then at the moment of death, and there will be, then we are accustomed to leave a body, which of course can be very traumatic because it is our first experience in our life to leave our body and to enter into the unknown. But at that moment, we need a refuge in the Buddha nature, in the Dharma, in our behavior, our ways of thinking and speaking, and in the qualities of the Sangha, and of course the Guru. Right? There's an inner Guru and there's an outer Guru, the inner Buddhas and outer Buddhas. So if we try to connect them to them in our daily life, as just explained, then this is the best Phowa and the best preparation for Phowa on the moment of death. Because then, maybe you remember from the course of living and dying, on the moment of death, the pure Buddha nature will arise on the moment of death. The mother is also called the mother, the luminous love and compassion. Then we can recognize, and then when we have faith and are accustomed to it and we are following it, then that is the essential Phowa. But we have to train in our daily life. If we learn in our daily life not to rely on fear, but to have trust in goodness, in the qualities of the Buddha, and learn to rely on the Buddha nature, then on the moment of death, there will be no fear. Then it is just the dissolving of the body. But at the same time, it is the arising of the luminosity of the Buddha nature, which is the Phowa. Does this make sense to you? This is most useful. And ejecting our consciousness on the moment of death without understanding what we are doing or without understanding where we are ejecting into. If we have never trained our Buddha qualities in our daily life, then this ejecting of the consciousness is totally useless. Has no meaning at all, because maybe we are ejecting ourselves in the hell realms. We don't know, or in the animal realm, or in and whatever, the Praetarium or in difficult countries. So this way, this is, I think, the best way of to consider what is Phowa and how can we prepare for it, get accustomed to it, and use it at the moment of death. When there is serenity, when there is kindness, there is the compassion, when there is everyone wishing happiness, when there is equanimity in myself, and this is the best state in the dying process. And that our mind is intermingled with the empty nature of the mind. And that we can arise with beautiful qualities in a pure state, built out of emptiness, wisdom, and compassion. So in that way, that we recognize our potential of purity, and that we have faith in this purity because we have trained in it, have built and trust in it, by ways of compassion and refuge and wisdom. This Pure Land is already there. Only thing is we have to learn how to get there. So in a very practical way, this sounds maybe very spiritual or maybe abstract, which is not, but maybe, but in daily life. So if we try to help other beings, a colleague who doesn't know how to solve a computer problem, and maybe I don't like this colleague, but when I try to help him or her, then this is a kind of Phowa, more or less. When I try to help someone to find in the supermarket, when someone is confused, and to listen, try to understand, if to try to encourage others and try to encourage myself, if I try to listen to other beings who I don't completely understand, but I try to listen, try to understand. If I'm not, the bell is going, it's ringing, it makes a terrible noise. So Meta always got a heart attack of it. But she practiced Phowa, I guess. I don't know. I'm joking. So everyday kindness, everyday understanding, everyday listening, every day trying to be of help. In short, loving kindness was one of your questions. In the smallest details of our life. This is also connecting to, there is an other dimension of consciousness and there is an other dimensions of mind where I can speak, from which I can speak, of which I can do my bodily actions, and from which I can do my mental actions. This is the most beautiful, not most beautiful, the essence, also an essence of taking a refuge every day, every moment. Huh? Is this okay? So, and for one of your questions is finally, can I practice Phowa for someone else? As I just explained, we cannot practice Phowa in the sense of ejecting someone else's consciousness. But in the book of Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, so not the Tibetan Book of Death, the Bhadra book, but the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying from Sakya Rinpoche. There he mentions in a chapter the essential refuge. The essential Phowa. And this essential Phowa where we visualize someone else in the dying process or myself, and I visualize an enlightened being or a God or a Jesus, and then an offering or bringing this sentient being, this suffering, dying being, towards this being of enlightenment or myself, and then asking for compassion and wisdom, and to liberate from suffering to this liberated being, this holy divine being. And then this holy divine being, of course, is moved by compassion and abides in wisdom. And of course, this holy being says, yes, bring him or her to me, and I embrace him or her spiritually, and I will, and in this way, all the suffering and pain and fear and so on is purified. And this being in the dying process is entering the luminous emptiness and compassion of this being, this enlightened being, which essentially, of course, is your own Buddha nature or someone else's Buddha nature. But this meditation, this essential refuge, essential Phowa, is very beautiful. This we can do for ourselves. We can practice this when we are in difficulties. And we can practice for someone who is in the dying process or has died recently. Has died recently. Okay. There are many other details for Phowa, but I think this is the essence. And if you are aware of that, there are countless Buddhas and bodhisattvas in this universe, that they are there to help us as soon as we take refuge in them or request them, then there's no need for Phowa, I think, in the traditional way. Okay, just briefly. And of course, reading the Bardo-Tödel text is the Bardo-Tödel text, the text in the Tibetan Book of the Dead is very, very useful for someone who is in the dying process or has recently deceased or died. Then reading the Bardo-Tödel text is very, very helpful. Also for oneself. For oneself, because it is comforting, it is of help to one's grief, and it is considered to be a communication with the person who has died, and it is a very healing way of reading this text for oneself, to do something for the person in the bardo. And it also might help the person in the bardo. So try to get a little bit more or less familiar with the essence of Bardo-Tödel, or reading the text. Maybe we can go into that in another meeting, because now we have time for that. This is also very useful and beneficial and healing for oneself and for others. Okay. Many things to do in our life. No time for a job. Okay, so now under the last wonderful topic, which is mantra, is also a very big topic, but in essence, they are very beautiful and essential, and not very difficult. So mantra, maybe you know, mantra means protection of mind, mantra, which is very close related to tantra, which is also a continuation of mind. Mantra is protection of mind. And in essence, there is not a general accepted definition of mantra. The Hindus have a different definition. Yoga schools have different, in the West have different definitions. Religions have different definitions. Psychiatrists have different meanings, explanations of mantra, and so on. So the only thing that I can share with you is how I have learned it from in the Mahayana and Tantrayana tradition from His Holiness Sakya and other tantric teachers. So, to my idea, to my knowledge and understanding, mantra belongs to the tantric practice. But I think to be more wide, not to be, let's say, not only treat the tantric meaning of mantras, but also the more general meaning of mantras. In Tantra, let's say there is a tantric, mantric definition and practice. I think some of you had the Lamdre several times in Burma or where else, or maybe other tantric practices. But in the tantric practice, a mantra is the essence of a meditational deity. And this meditational deity is, I've mentioned them before, let's say Manjushri, or from wisdom, or Avalokiteshvara of compassion, or Maitreya from love and kindness. Some of you practice the 21 taras, where we have 21 mantras. In the prayer of Tara, there are 21 mantras briefly used. So these are meditational deities. We belong to the inner refuge of enlightened beings, the Sangha. Right? Your personal Sangha, so to speak, are the initiations that you have received from a tantric master, or that we have received from a tantric master, like examples of I've just mentioned. And the essence of all the qualities of this enlightened being, this meditation deity, is transferred by the tantric master through an initiation or an empowerment. If you have received them, you know what I mean. If not, then try to find a tantric master. It's so beautiful, the tantric initiations. And this tantric master is not transferring his or her tantric mind towards the student. He is only expressing the qualities of the tantric deity, the meditational deity, the yidam, so to speak, the yidam. Yidam means protection of mind. So this tantric deity is a yidam, is a protecting deity, like Avalokiteshvara and so on. And the tantric master is transferring the qualities in very beautiful procedures and prayers and rituals and the student is open to receive, or open or not to receive the qualities by itself, or is reviving or bringing alive the qualities of the yidam, or the tantric deity, that the guru, the tantric guru, is transferring to you. Not literally, but by expressing and explaining, and rituals, and so on. And then the tantric receiver is arising in him or herself the qualities of this tantric deity. And the mantra is then transferred or given and explained from the tantric master to the tantric student. And this mantra is the essence of the spiritual qualities and of the yidam, or the tantric deity. So that what I'm trying to say is that the tantric mantra, the secret mantra, is only to be recited by the person that has followed this procedure, as I've just explained, and is allowed to recite this mantra. So this is the secret practice of the secret mantra, because it is the secret qualities of the tantric deity inside of our secret mind, which is the Buddha nature, and so on. So it's only allowed to recite this mantra if we have received the tantric transference. And the mantra is the essence of all the qualities of this specific tantric deity. So what in essence the mantra is doing is that it is weaving. I found the word weaving. I like that. Weven. Huh? So to intermingle, to weave together the quality of the enlightened being and my ordinary mind and being. The mantra is weaving, intermingling, mixing. Mixing is not a nice word, but something like that. The qualities of the tantric deity into or with my own ordinary qualities. And this is the essence of the mantra. The mantra is the essence of who I am, is essentially, and it is manifested and bringing into being with the help of a tantric guru. And reciting the mantra again and again is, in essence, to leave the ordinary world, of the ordinary mind, of this samsara where I'm living in, and all its causes inside. So this is what is happening when we recite the mantra. We are leaving the ordinary world with its suffering and all its causes inside of me. So reciting a mantra at the moment of death is also a practice of Phowa. Huh? Practice of Phowa. Is this okay? Does it make sense in its brief explanation? So that means that it also means that we are not allowed the secret mantra in public. We are not allowed to recite a mantra if there's anyone else in the room who has not received the same transference of the mantra and the tantric from this tantric deity, from this tantric initiation. So I'm allowed to recite it only for myself, or in companion with other persons that also have received the same initiation or empowerment. Then we are allowed to recite together. and also allowed to recite loudly. But loudly does not mean shouting or something like that. It is said that reciting a mantra should have the volume of like sitting someone on my shoulder. And if this person can hear me reciting the mantra, that this volume is allowed. So not sitting a person 2 meters away from me. If he, she should hear the mantra sound, then it is too loud. That's just an example, but this is commonly in text said. And it is all because a mantra is a secret commitment and a secret expression of the essence of this tantric deity, like compassion or wisdom or wrathfulness. There are also wrathful mantras, and wrathful deities, and wrathful yidams, and wrathful tantric empowerments. And it is very important, also in the general way, to recite the mantra very precise. So each syllable of the mantra should be recited with greatest care and greatest mindfulness and correct pronunciation. For us in the West, it's difficult because all mantras are in Sanskrit language. So my Sanskrit is abominable, terrible, but compared to the original pronunciation. But okay, that's all the best I can do, as good as possible. So each syllable is to be expressed very precise and very clear, not too loud, and not hastily and incorrectly. So for instance, we have the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, and many people recite Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Mani Padme Hum. And in essence, this is incorrect. It's more related to have a certain result in reciting as many mantras in as short as possible time, but this is not a correct attitude for the mantra. When you're in Bodhanature in Kathmandu, I think Josephine also knows, there's a content tape or music with the sound of Om Mani Padme Hum constantly. And tourists are there, and Buddhists are there, and police is there, hundreds of people every day. And this mantra is by music and by loudspeakers always present. Okay, it's not a tantric way, but it is, anyway, it is wholesome, could be wholesome. But it's not very, from the tantric point of view, it's not very respectable to Avalokiteshvara. But if people understand the mantra and it arises some compassion in them, then it is okay. Better than nothing. But
officieel is het een tantric.
Yeah. Yeah, so here's the question, is it officially a tantric mantra? This is the case from Avalokiteshvara, for instance. There are many other mantras. So this is the utterly secret mantra and practice of mantra. And in this initiation, in this empowerment, we receive through the mantra and through this empowerment, we receive the nectar from the qualities of this tantric deity. We receive the nectar of this abhisheka, is it called. So I have many beautiful aspects to experience and to know and to practice. So this is briefly the secret practice, and the other practice of mantras is what we call the Dharani mantra. And Dharani mantra are mantras that are more open, recited, are more chanted, are more related to certain texts or to certain books or to certain understanding. Sometimes are incantations, some spiritual connections with spiritual beings. But their essence is that they are not, the Dharani mantras are not secret. They are related to texts or wisdom or understanding and related to open practice. And some people are in groups and singing and chanting mantras. In Hinduism, it is very, as far as I know, very common to recite mantras publicly. So these are more related to understanding and knowing and texts and books and prayers. There's also a kind of prayer, incantation, connection to a spiritual world, which is not very specific. So Dharani mantras. You'll find them on YouTube, and you find them in commercial groups, and you find them in Hindu groups, and you find them in other situations. And that doesn't mean that we can practice them without reverence and with respect. Every mantra should be recited with respect and with understanding and with a connection to a spiritual world inside oneself, or if one is not believing in that, if one is believing in the outside world, then also the Dharani mantras should be related to connection and respect to an outer spiritual, wholesome world. This is the essence of mantra. So let's say this, but in our Dharani mantras, we are not transforming or not transformed into deity, like in the tantric practice. This is not the case in the public mantras. So now the question was, is it possible that, or why should we, what was the question? Yeah, how do mantras work? So I've just briefly explained, and their impact on us. And then especially if there's no one or nothing in the reality. How is the impact on mantras, especially if there's no one or nothing outside of us in the non-dual reality? And it is believed that mantras are beneficial for ourselves, because when we breathe and when we recite, there are resonations in the body, in the bones, in the organs. So our whole body is resonating when reciting a mantra. So the healing aspect of mantras is for the body, is that it all is purifying our breathing and our suffering of body and all its organs and functions. So also in this way, a mantra can have a healing impact. And this is also the case when we recite healing mantras aloud, Dharani mantras aloud, just with some volume. And it is not the case that this world around us is empty, because the question if there's nothing or no one outside. There is emptiness in Buddhist philosophy, but there is not an emptiness. It means emptiness is always filled with something. And in Buddhist philosophy, it means that the universe is not empty of beings. There are countless beings in countless situations, in countless positions and places. even outside our planet world. So reciting mantras, secret mantras or dharani mantras, as soon as we recite them, their energy, their qualities are arising into thin air. They spread themselves like a stone thrown in the water into the universe. So it can affect every being if one believes in energy, in limitless energy. We don't know where our words are going to. Right? So this is, of course, a little bit of abstract idea that our world outside of our body is full of energy. And as soon as there's energy and mind, then there are beings. And mind is not, and if there are countless beings, then there are countless minds, means there are countless energies. And as soon as we speak or act, then the impact is like a stone thrown into water. It's a very general, abstract explanation of the impact of mantras. So it never gets lost. So now for I've given you some mantras to finally. I've given you some examples. Om Mani Padme Hum was just here the question. In essence, Om Mani Padme Hum is a secret practice, tantric practice, but through all kinds of developments in society, Om Mani Padme Hum has also become a dharani mantra. For dharani mantras, we don't need empowerments. For the secret practice of Om Mani Padme Hum and dissolving or connecting and leaving oneself with the aspect of Buddha Avalokitesvara, we need initiation, empowerment, and the transference of the mantra. And then we are allowed to recite Om Mani Padme Hum, interwoven with the tantric deity inside of me. But for all kinds of reasons, I've said that Om Mani Padme Hum has become a dharani mantra, so it is okay to recite, given what I've just mentioned, to understand what one is reciting. And this is also the same with Om Gate Gate Pare Gate Pare Samgate Bodhi Soha, Om Gate Gate Pare Gate Pare Samgate Bodhi Soha. This should be expressed correctly. Om Gate Gate Pare Gate Pare Samgate Bodhi Soha. Not Gate Gate Pare Gate, something like that, or Body. This is not a correct pronunciation. It is Om Gate Gate Pare Gate Pare Samgate Bodhi Soha. This, in essence, this is a dharani mantra. We don't need an initiation for it, because you will find, probably you know, we will find this mantra in the Heart Sutra. I guess you all know the Heart Sutra, and if not, it is a very famous sutra and a text. In the weekend of study last weekend, we recited it at the beginning of each meeting. So at least 5 times, and at the end we recited the mantra. So this is a dharani mantra, and it means, gate means traversing, or gone, traversed or gone, gate. Parisamgata means fully gone, fully traversed. Body means enlightened. So it is a path of going, path of fully going, realized, to enlightenment. So it is gate. is on the way to enlightenment. Padasamgata is fully accomplished the enlightenment body, and Soha is like in the Christian practice is like Amen. It is a sort of spiritual confirmation. So this is because it is in the Heart Sutra, because Heart Sutra is very public text. It is a Dharani mantra that we can recite in certain practice. And all mantras are from the tantric point of view, tantric origin, and therefore all mantras should start with Om. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Ye Soha, Om Gate Gate. So all mantras start with Om. And Om, of course, is the quality of a realized spiritual being. And the mantra finally of Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Ye Soha is also a Dharani mantra. And maybe you know the mantra. So Om is divine being. Muni is a holy or wise one, a holy being. Muni, a holy being. And Mahamuni is the great holy being, which is the Buddha. So we have holy beings like Muni, and we have the great holy being, Mahamuni, is Buddha Sakya Muni, or the Buddha. And Mahamuniye means it has realized the holy being, Muniye. And Soha is Amen, or Hail. And this is also a very famous and general mantra, which when we recite this mantra, it interweaves us with the holy Buddha nature into oneself, Om Muni Muni, that one is inside. And Mahamuniye is completely being interwoven with the holy Buddha nature inside. Amen. So it has an internal meaning, an internal interweavement, and it has a connection with Buddha Sakyamuni and all outer Buddhas. But this is also a wonderful practice for the moment of death. So is it okay in this way, very briefly? A great difference between Tantric mantra practice and preparation and Dharani mantric practice. That's important to understand. And it's important to understand that every mantra is weaving oneself with Buddha qualities or bodhisattva qualities. And that in a respectful way, we should recite the mantras in a respectful way. And in this way, we connect ourselves with the qualities of this meditational deity or this enlightened being. And by reciting the mantra, we enhance the quality and the connection and being interwoven with each reciting of the mantra. So again, every reciting of the mantra is at the same time being interwoven or connected or enhancing or abiding in the most essential qualities of this enlightened being in ourselves or in the world around us. Okay? So when you feel angry and you feel some harsh words coming up, arising in you, then you recite inside Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, and then miracles happen. Huh? Okay, Om Mani Muni Ma Muni Soha. We can sing mantras, and we can recite mantras. And recitation is repeating in a certain rhythm and with a certain volume and a certain sound. And all teachers say, make the sound of reciting the mantra as beautiful as you can do. So there's not a certain melody allowed. There's not a certain sound obliged. When we recite a mantra, we can sing it or recite it as beautifully as one can do, because it is an honor, an offering to the Buddhas as well.